Hey guys, so this is a video on Microsoft Excel and some of the ways that you can track your animals and your sales using Excel, how you can keep up with customer information, where your animals went, how many of each animal, how long you had them before they sold, things along of that nature. It took me a couple of times to record this video because I think I was trying to make it too intricate. So I've simplified it quite a bit, and if you have any questions about formulas that I use or would use to make things easier for me, feel free to ask about them, and I can clarify those things for you. But I've tried to take out most of those unnecessary formulas that I had put in there because they're unnecessary. So I have 3 tabs so far in here, and I don't have a summary tab yet because I'm going to do that with you guys. What I went ahead and put in here was some fake data about clutches, customers, and sales. So all of this is just made up. These aren't our actual animals. And I started off with the clutch detail tab. So on my first tab, I renamed it. You can rename your tab by right-clicking and going to rename. And then I put, these titles across the top. I bolded them and centered them. You don't have to do that. That was personal preference. And I didn't turn these into a table, though that is something you can do. And I'll talk about that more in a little bit. The most important things on this page are going to be the animal ID, the sex, and the genes, I would say. Hatch date, I think, is useful because you can see how old your animals are when you sell them. You can have an idea of like when they were hatched if your customer asks. I think it's useful. I also like having the sire and the dam listed. We use names for our animals, so I would put like the animal's name here on my own, because that way I know I can attribute sales to the animal themselves. In summary, I can know how much profit we've turned from a certain male or female. I also like having, so we would have like a different tab that has their name, their genetics, and like when they hatched, when they first started producing, what parents produced to them, just in case a new gene pops up out of them, something of that nature, or if it was a pos het. But you don't have to do that, and I don't think I'm going to go super deep into that for this video, but I think it's useful to have. So you can see here for my animal ID, I just did 2022, clutch 1, animal 1, female, male, male. We always do females first because they tend, when we make our animal IDs, because they tend to have a higher price point. That's really the only reason. So yeah, the unique ID is very important because it helps you pull information across sheets. So I always have a unique identifier for each animal. The sex, that way you know what you have available, and the genes, so that you know what you have available. And in case you don't know their animal ID by heart, but you had this one of these animals and one of these, it can be helpful. So this is how I put together that first clutch detail. Then when it comes to customer info, we enter our customers' info as they purchase their animals. Again, I have a customer ID so that I can put a unique value on each person, because I can have multiple John Does. And once we assign someone a number, even if they make multiple purchases, they always keep the same number. And we use 2201, 2202. You can just do 1, 2, 3. You don't need that 22. I actually think it's unnecessary because I realized that when we have customers that buy across multiple years, we're still using that same original customer ID. So maybe in a couple years they'll be useful, because I could say, wow, this person has a 21 in their ID number. They must have been buying from us for years now. I don't know. But so that's the customer ID. We put their name, some kind of contact information in case we want to reach out to them, send them like something promotional. I also really like having a type and a platform. So now this type would be, we use breeder, potential breeder, pet owner. If you don't know what they are, like you can just put unknown, something like that. I think this is awesome because I like attributing sales to the different types of individuals purchasing animals. I like to know how many sales we've made to each of these different people and how much these different types of people have spent with us. And I also like platforms, so I just named, these are the big platforms that we've sold on, and that is Instagram, Morph Market, Show Me Snakes, Repticon, Facebook, TikTok, or a referral. This is what we keep up with in our customer info. And then this is an example of a sales sheet. So what I have in the sales sheet, again, this is where I started pulling in all of those unnecessary formulas for my availability. You can see up here, I did those automatically rather than just typing them in. And I think for the purpose of this video, we'll just type it in. So I put all of the animals that would be available here. And when I put them here, I also put their list date, I put their list price, and the rest gets filled out when somebody purchases from us. Again, I had put in formulas that would make things fill in automatically, but we really don't need that for the purpose of this video. I will show you guys these specifically because it makes it just that bit easier. But again, you could always copy and paste this over. So when I grab a new animal, which I just copied, and I am pasting, I used keyboard shortcuts, but you can always paste like this. It went ahead and it filled in the formulas that I have, which would be this available. This is an if statement that I wrote that basically says if the amount paid is less than the price we agreed on, it is on hold. If it's equal to the price we agreed on, it is available. And if there's no, it's sold. And if there's no money put down at all, the animal is still available. You can just type that in and you can update it as it sells. You don't need to use a formula there. For the list date, I'm going to say that we listed this animal along with their siblings, and the rest gets filled out as we make a sale. So, for example, we have Courtney's already in there. We have Jane Doe, 2203. She is going to purchase an animal from us, and she wants to purchase this male het sunset, and she's going to pay full price the same day it's listed, but she needs to be put on a payment plan. So I'm going to say she sold it, or we are selling it for $600,000, and she went ahead and put $400 down. My formula would go ahead and change that to on hold, but you could just type in on hold here. Meanwhile, somebody else purchased this female sunset. They said that they've got $4,000 today. We will go ahead and pay today if they can get a discount. We agreed to it. We accepted $4,000 and they paid today. And you can see that had automatically updated to sold. So shipping is going to cost us $75. And this was from customer 2203. So I want to show you guys what I did for this formula right here, because I want that to fill in automatically. What this formula says, it is a VLOOKUP. So I have this if NA, and I'll talk about that last. To me, the if NA just makes things look prettier. So under customer type, that has already been filled out in customer info, and I don't want to type it twice. So I have what's called a VLOOKUP. So to write my VLOOKUP, what I'm saying is, let me start from the beginning, equals VLOOKUP, and then open parenthesis, and what's my lookup value? That is that unique identifier that I had told you guys about earlier. That's why we only want to have one per customer. So it can be listed here as many times as we want, but we only want one customer with that value. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a comma to move on to the next thing, which would be a table array. That is going to be this table right here, starting with that unique identifier. So I'm going to come up here where you get that arrow, and I'm going to drag it across because I want all of these columns. And if I add more onto here, I want it to continue to look at every single row. I don't want to just highlight the table. I want to highlight the entire column. And I'm going to put another comma. Next is going to be the column index. So I'm trying to get this type. So I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the 5th column over. And you're pretty much done. The last thing you would say is false because we want it to be an exact lookup. And then I hit enter. And now you can probably see why I put that if NA at the front. So I like to include, just for making the formula pretty at the beginning, if NA, which would be if not applicable, open parenthesis. So what it's saying is, y'all can't see me point, sorry. If this formula returns this value, instead of giving me this value, I'm going to put comma, I want blank. So anything in here would end up where those NAs would be. I don't want the hello, I just want it blank. So I'm going to, just nothing in there. And I did the exact same thing here. The only difference, everything is exactly the same, but I have a 6 instead of a 5 because that would be column number 6 in this row. So now we have where our animal was sold, what kind of customer purchased that animal. Apparently we have 2 pet owners buying $1,000, $4,000 and $6,000 animals. Maybe I'll make this a little more reliable and say that these are both breeders. And put breeder, and I'll make you a pet owner to make up for it. All right. So yeah, you can see here it automatically updated that exactly as I updated it here. So as I changed it here, it changed over here. And that's kind of cool because maybe that potential breeder becomes a breeder one day and you have kept up with them, they've become a friend, and you update it only once. Alrighty. So now we have this information. I'm going to go ahead and fill it out just a little bit more so that we have a little more going on for our summary page. So I've got this a little more filled out. I'm going to sort really quick by the customer number. That way we can get all the animals that have been purchased or put on hold kind of together. I guess I could have also done that by sorting by available. I would rather sort Z to A though, because I want my availables to stay down here at the bottom. So this retained, what I have is the amount that they have paid us minus the shipping cost. So the amount that we have received minus the shipping cost is going to be either what they paid or, you know, a little less. So sometimes, as you can see right here, they paid more than the list price because they paid for shipping, but shipping actually costs $60 because we charge a flat rate. So we retained $190. So what I do for a discount, and this I actually would also use an if statement because I don't want to include on hold animals. So what I would say is if, open your parenthesis, if the animal is sold. So if that value right there equals, open quotations, sold, close quotations, comma, the list price minus what we've retained. So if we've retained everything, it's going to equal 0. The discount will. If we didn't get to retain the entire list price, it's going to give the discounted amount. All right, but we want to say, well, what happens if it's not sold? So we're going to say comma, or just open and close quotations, and we're going to close our parenthesis at the end. So here, values that are on hold or available, they're just going to be blank. But you can see the ones where we've given a discount, we'll have the discount given, the dollar amount. We can go into percentages as well. And it's just based off retained and list price. All right, so we've got some fake data in here. It looks pretty good. What are we gonna do with it? I like pivot tables. So what I would do is I would come over to the insert tab on your ribbon, and I would insert a pivot table from my table. And this is how I do my pivot table. So now this is going to have all of these columns in it. Let's do one together, and then we're going to make graphs from it as well. So I want to look at my customer type and put those in my rows. So I have blanks, I have breeder, pet owner, potential breeder. Something I would suggest would be moving available into your filters, availability, and only putting your sold animals here. So this is going to be all of your sold, and then we're going to come over and we're going to put what values we want to have summarized over into our values field. So we have all these different amounts. I'm going to go with retained. I think retained is the most valuable dollar amount here. Maybe paid. I like retained. However you want to look at it, though, it's totally up to you. So you can see the amount. I'm going to change that to dollars up here in my number formatting field. And I'm going to get rid of those decimal places. So I can see here that I've sold significantly more to this type of keeper. I would say you can change that. You can format this however you want to see it. You can change that. I always leave a space in front of it, because if you don't leave a space in front of it, you get an error. So I just leave a space in front. Another thing that you can do is you can right click here. You can find out your average. So on average, this is how much they spend with me, or total, this is how much they spend with me. You could also look at a percentage. So 83% of my sales went to this customer type in this situation. So play with this however you want to. I can't tell you how you want to look at it. I can't tell you what is useful to you. I like having as much information as possible. So when I have a type of table that I like, I copy it and paste it so that I can manipulate it. I can't type and talk at the same time. Alright, so when I get a table that I like, I will copy and paste it a few different times so that I can manipulate it into each of those different types to look at it. I don't think the grand total is useful in these two situations, so I take them off. So what that grand total is in this case, because it's an average, it would be an average of all of these numbers. So what is my average sale amount? I don't think that's important at all here. And the grand total, because it is a percentage of the grand total and it's a sum, you're going to get 100% no matter what. Like, that's the whole point of it. So I don't think that's useful, and I don't think it's useful here. But in this situation, I think it is useful, because this is the total amount we would have sold for a time frame. So if you want to start getting into it more and you're doing this for multiple years, you can add your sold date. Over here I right clicked and I could add it as a timeline or a slicer. Time is hard with the slicer, so I use a timeline. And you can manipulate it further and get like years, or you can do it by months. In this case, we only have 1 year. We only have 2020 in here. So I'm going to say, you know, I guess I only have a few dates in there. I have October and September. So you can look at it over dates. Once you get more data in here, you can look at it over years, which is really great. And you would change that by clicking here. So I only have data in 2022. If some of these sales were made in 2023, and then I could grab 2023 data. Pretty cool, right? Something else cool that you can do is on your slicer's settings. So once you've clicked on this timeline, you'll get a new little tab up here called timeline. Well, same with the slicer. If you add something as a slicer, you can come up here to report connections and you can check each of these pivot tables. So now all of my tables update when I move my slicer. And again, you can put your months in here. And now that it's by month, it includes 2023 because I have 2023 data. So however you want to do it, that's just something useful. Maybe you want to insert a few tabs and keep your slicer up at the top so that, as you come into your page, you make your changes all up at the top and everything updates as you go. I like to freeze. Sorry. I like to freeze so that it's always in one place once I have more tables on here. So let me change it back to years, and I want all of 2022 on here. You can do quarters as well. It's up to you. You can do whatever you want. So let me give you a few more tables you can add that will be very useful to you. Okay, once you have your pivot table made, something that you could do is you could throw in a chart. You can use columns, you can use lines. I think lines are bad in this case, but you could throw in a little column chart right here. You can really, these don't make any sense in this case, but you can see you can click them all around. Here's my column. I can put it anywhere I want. You can even put it, you can have a summary and a graph or a dashboard where you keep all your graphs. So you can have data on one page, you can have visuals on the other, however you want to do it. It's up to you. And you can change this however you want it to. You can change it to and over here you can say, well, I want this to be my customer type. And I want the exact same 3 tables, but I want them by platform. So you can stick them, I wouldn't stick them under, yeah, you could stick them underneath because you're only going to have 3 customer types. But in this case, I wouldn't stick them anywhere else because your platforms, you could get an increase. I wouldn't put anything else underneath these because your platforms could change. So to get these fields back, I right-clicked and clicked on field list. So instead of having customer type, I'm going to take that out for all 3 of these, and I'm going to replace it with platform. Woohoo! See how easy that was? It's super easy. So you can see here, we make most of our sales off of the Show Me Snake show and Instagram in this very fake scenario. Again, you're still going to have the same amount of total sales. But yeah, no, I mean, like, here's all your data broken down. We've made the least amount of our sales off of referrals, which totally makes sense, because how many, friends will tell friends in 1 year? But also it was completely made up and by chance. So it shouldn't make sense. And again, you can make graphs out of any of these, which is pretty cool. So one thing that we do with, like, in addition to this, would be adding in, like, the discount. So yeah, we made a sale of $300, but how much of a discount did these people have? What was their discount? Sorry, I'm gonna also make that an average, because this is our average, and I want to keep this gap in here, so if I add a column, it won't automatically add a gap. So I'm going to add in that discount, and again, I'm going to change it to sum, because I want to see it as a sum. I'm going to come back up to home and change it to dollars, and I'm going to get rid of the But yeah, so you can see we've made, in this case, if this was real, I could say, wow, we've made just as much from Instagram as we have Show Me Snakes, but we give a lot more discounts in person. That's good to know. Like, maybe we price our animals higher at a show. Like, I don't know. This is completely made up, But yeah, so here's a simple way to look at things. Alright, so what are some other ways that we can look at this? We could also look at it by total sales amount as well as number of sales. So in this case, having a customer type, if we were to add that like customer ID over to the values and it gave us a count, that's another like way to break things down, including a count in that as well. And just to show you, I'm going to click on this pivot table, and I'm going to insert a pivot chart, and it's going to have the count as well as the amount, the count of customers as well as the amount. And I'm going to map those differently on my graph, because those are such different numbers, like 2,000 versus 1. I'm going to put a secondary axis on it. So when I come to my chart type, I'm going to go down to combo, and I'm going to add those as a secondary axis. And you can change this to anything you want, a bar chart. I'm going to use a line chart with these dots, because I'm going to just keep the dots. So I've got my chart. I'm going to cut and paste it over here. And anything you make here will affect, because this is running off of that table. So one thing is, we're never going to have half of a customer, but we will hopefully have more than 3 at some point. So I'm going to format this axis over here, and I'm going to change it so that it goes up in increments of 1, and the max is much higher. So I'm going to go ahead and put 10 for now as my maximum, and it's going to drag that way down. It's also going to automatically change it to like units of 1 rather than like 0.0 or whatever, so you don't even need to worry about that anymore. These are all the different things you could do, like if you wanted to format in all kinds of different ways. So that's already done for me. I don't like the way this looks. I don't want the line in it. I just want those dots. So I'm going to go to my marker, and I'm going to keep the marker. If I could make it bigger if I wanted right here. But the line is what I want to get rid of. I'm going to say no line. And there you have it. Now I can see like frequency of customers and their, like the amount they spent with us. You can change it however you want. If you, like, once there's more data, it will like look even better. But again, if you were to take this customer off of your pivot table, it will take it off of your pivot chart. So just a heads up there, it's going to run off of that. Yeah, so another thing that we do is based off of this availability. Something that we keep up with is what animals we currently have available and the amount of money they're valued at. So I might insert another pivot table on a completely fresh page, and I would only put available animals on this table. So I separate it by sex, so I know how many males and females I have available. I will also go ahead and list out the genes that they have and the list price, so I can see what I have available at that time, males versus females. And if you don't like how this looks, you can come up to your design, and I think it looks a little better in this like tabular form. And if I remove, well, maybe if there's more animals you'll want to keep, your subtotal. So let's see what it would look like if I deleted some of these, all of these. Yeah. So you can see that looks better with both. So you can see these are the females I have available. I have $8,000 worth of females available. I have $7,800 worth of males available. I have a total of $16,000 worth of animals available. You can also, you know, put the like total number. You can see I have, well, you know, one of each, and I guess if you had two like inchy yellow bellies, it would, you know, group those together, but you can pretty easily see you have 6 females and 5 males available. Let's actually see if I duplicate one, how it'll look in there. Yeah, I took away all the sales, so that's why that all went away. So let's say I have 2 of the exact same animal. There you go. So I have 2 female sunsets available for a total of $9,000. Oh, kind of cool. Hopefully this was helpful. We can do a lot more with Excel. Excel is pretty fantastic. If you want to see more, just let us know. And if you have any questions about anything I wasn't clear about, it's the same thing. Just let us know. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a like. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. And we will see you next week.